It's me, Courtney. My mommy is the best. Super mom will be best. She helps mommies get their smiles back, their giggles back, and their sparkle back. You wait for the soul brush. Get ready for It's Super Slowly, not Super Strong.
Welcome to Healing for the Soul podcast, sponsored by Robin Stoltman, with this being season number 6, episode number 24. And before we get started, I am your host, Robin Stoltman, and every week I feature different guests to help you become the best version of yourself through different methods you may not have heard of or thought of. So be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Healing for the Soul podcast and keep coming back for more. Now today, I have my guest, Courtney Stanfield. She is a veteran Canadian TV broadcaster. She is a mom of 3 and a mental wellness visionary. She created Air Out so that moms and dads have a place to feel heard without judgment or debate. The idea came to her in a dream, and it was so profound, she started an emailing app development company in the middle of the night. So Air Out is an anonymous chat space that offers instant relief for your nervous system. With a 100-character limit, no usernames, no interactions between users, and language filters, it provides a safe, easy, and accessible place to vent, confess, brag, and put your thoughts in. Initially designed to support parents through the challenges of raising kids, this app has evolved into a platform for all with 6 featured chat spaces. And today she is on the show talking about Mama Meltdown, where thoughts can get dark when emotions run high, and how vital it is to allow them to run and flow freely in a space that is safe without judgment. So let's get started. Thank you so much, Courtney, for being here with our audience. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, a topic near and dear to my mama heart. So if people leave this conversation feeling a little bit better, I feel like we've done well.
Well, yeah, that's exactly how it goes. Because I'm like, there's days that you're just like, oh, it gets frustrating with the kids. Granted, I've got a lot more. So, I mean, like, it gets up there.
The intensity builds, yes. But I
Yes.
think anybody, whether you have 1 kid, 3, 5, 10, it's there. That frustration is there. The self-questioning is there. Those challenging moments are there. The complete deconstruction of who you thought you were is there. It is relevant, and we are here to help work through that.
Most definitely. I would agree with you. Because I'm like, for me, it's always been because I've got 7 living children, 6 of them are boys, and I've got another one coming. So I'm like, I've got 8 in the household.
Yes.
All under 10, and running a business, doing everything that I'm doing. So for me, it's like, okay, if you got less than 4 kids, you've got it a lot easier. It's really handling, and this is across the board. So I mean, like, if you've got less than the 4 kids, or you've got more like I do, either way, you still have to know how to be able to handle your own emotions when the chaos is going.
Oh, and there are so many days where you just get completely lost in it, and you don't even recognize yourself, and you're not showing up the way you want to show up, and you are angry, you're rageful, you're resentful, you're questioning all of your life decisions, you're wondering why you did this in the first place. All of that is so normal. And I want to highlight that those thoughts and the thoughts that moms have are not a reflection of you yourself. The quality of thoughts we have are not indicative of the quality of person you are. They are indicative of your emotional state. So when we are in that hyper state of being overstimulated, overwhelmed, frustrated, whatever it may be, of course, our thoughts are going to reflect that. It's not you. There's nothing wrong with you. And so because I know this firsthand, I had 3 kids in less than 2 years, twins, and another one a year and a half later. So we jumped into parenthood, lots of overwhelming moments. And when you can learn to accept that those thoughts are not you, then you can release them. It's when we store them that we start to build in the body. We start to become more insecure, more guilt, more shame. We start to look at others. We start to compare ourselves. We start to feel worse. But the second we are willing to look at them and move them through in an app like Air Out with self-expression, that is where the healing happens. It's in the release of those heightened emotional thoughts and moments where the power is.
And I would definitely agree with you. That's why I said, like, it's across the board. It's being able to handle our own emotions. And granted,
Yeah.
like for me, like for most parents, most of us in general, we are not taught in school how to handle our emotions. We are not taught by the other so-called adults that raised us how to parent, how to do things properly. And then, like, as time goes on, when you start becoming aware of things, you're like, oh, I need to change that. That's where mine has been, is I'm like, I need to change certain things. But you're 100% right though on that. Like in the moment, we don't always make like the best decision, but that's where your app can help, because I have I have joined parenting groups online, and like
Mhm.
the infertility ones, because I had infertility. That was of course before social media, back when I had it. I'm just saying, old enough to know. Um,
Me too.
yeah, and it's one of those things that it's like you've been through it, but at the same time, it's just like being able to handle that emotion, that emotions of what the hell was I thinking?
Totally. And being okay with it. So a lot of this mission here with Arrow is self-acceptance, acceptance of your thoughts, not fighting them, not resisting them, not wearing them, not carrying them around, not, you have a bad thought and you think, I never should have became a mom. I'm a terrible mother. If you don't say that, you're going to hold it in your body, and then you're going to show up for everybody differently. You're going to be shorter with your kids. You're going to be shorter with your partner. You're going to feel worse about yourself, when in reality, all that thought is doing, it's energy in your body asking to be let out, like steam out of a kettle in those moments. And when we can green light it and we can say, it's okay to say those things. It's okay to say you don't like your kid today, that you wish you could run away, that you just want to disappear. It's okay to say you feel nothing. And the thing is, it doesn't even have to be universally true. You can feel it now, and 10 minutes from now, have it not be true at all. And that's fine. But Air Out is a place completely anonymous, so no one will ever know it's you. There's no likes, no comments, no usernames, where you can go in that moment and say that thought as is, without censorship, raw and real, and not feel bad about it, because no one can comment, no one can find you, no one can make you feel bad. And then 10 minutes later, you'll feel like a totally different person, because you gave yourself the opportunity to say it when it came up for what it was, just a heated thought in a heated moment. End of story.
I like that, especially like with the Facebook groups and things too. It's like you get into those. That's why I left a lot of the groups, because it's like I want to
Yes.
go there to help, but really all it is like the infertility ones and the parenting ones, they're nothing more than a complaint fest. They complain and
It's
complain.
totally exhausting. And you need to ask
Yeah,
yourself a lot of the time in those moments, do you just need to say it, or are you actually looking for advice and feedback? Because I'm
just
going to
say
guess
it.
90% of the time, you just want to say it. And we know Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, they exist. If you want to engage with people, go for it. You can post anything on those forums, and you know for a fact you're going to receive dozens of comments, most of them likely going to make you feel worse. It's going to be very time consuming. There's going to be energy put into that. All of the comments, the likes, the responses, you're going to be tied to this for the day. Or you can have your moment now, completely and honestly, dump it into the void, offload all of those thoughts. Maybe you can't stand your partner today and you think, I married the wrong person. I don't want to be married anymore. I'm not attracted to them, whatever it may be, right here, right now, and not worry about it again, because once you move it, you'll move on from it. So now we have a space, and this is so vital for moms, because how many of us are walking around feeling like garbage, feeling shameful, hiding dirty secrets, dirty thoughts, when in reality, we all experience them. because we're all going through similar situations. And I like to say there are only so many emotions we can feel, only so many words we can string together to make a thought. So we are all so relatable when we're willing to be raw and real and uncensored. It's okay to not like your kids right now.
I agree with you. I
Yes.
100% agree with you because like right now, like off and on with my own children, I've got one with autism. So I mean like he is harder. But it's like just some days just dealing with him, I'm like, I really love him. He can talk like Donald Duck. He's really good at different things. But then when that ukulele kicks in where he's repeating back what I'm saying or what his brothers are doing,
Mhm.
just certain things like that, I'm like, God, I wish he didn't have that. Just
Sure.
because it's
Yes.
like one of those things, it's like, could you just stop repeating? And he only does it
And
like when he's mad or like he's getting overwhelmed. So I'm like, I know when he's gonna do it, but still,
yeah.
it's like, could you just not? You're just adding to it.
See, and what you just did there, Robin, like, no offense, you do what we all do is that you feel the need to preface it or justify it. I love my kids. They are wonderful, but let's just forget all that. We know you love your kids. We know you are biologically wired to protect and care for your children, but you can have a tough moment. And so we can finally get away from this censored expression where maybe you have a friend or a family member you might open up to, and it might be tidbits of the truth. Well, I've been feeling really frustrated by this, or this has been really difficult. No, just say it. I wish they weren't like this. I wish they didn't do this. And I wish like this. And it is okay to say that. And now we don't have to justify it. We don't have to validate it. We don't have to give a disclaimer on it. We can just say it. And like even talking about it, don't you feel that release in your body? Like even
Well, yeah,
talking about it, you can feel your shoulders drop, your body relax, your mind quiet. And that's the goal here. This is a tool. It is the furthest thing from social media. It's like the anti-social app in that sense because there is no interaction. So for the first time in our lives, instead of looking for external validation, we are doing it for the release for ourselves. So when we start to approach it like I need this release and I don't care externally what anybody thinks or says or wants to do with that, that's where you start to feel better. That's where your body can actually relax, your thoughts calm, you cut through some of the emotional clutter you're carrying around. I like to say it's like a pile of messy clothes on the floor. Doesn't look good, doesn't feel good, very overwhelming. When you go through it and you hang up each item one by one and you organize the closet, that's much easier. And the same concept goes for our thoughts. Instead of a cluttered, heavy mess that we're just trying to avoid, if we start to look at our thoughts, we start to deal with them head on without attachment, then we can have that nice, calm, clean mind. And we're going to show up calmer and happier for our kids because we feel better. And we're going to show up differently for our partners at the end of the day when we're not wearing all of the garbage that we tell ourselves during the day.
I would agree with you because there's
Yeah.
so much garbage it's in the mind. And it's like, I know that even
Mhm.
as a hypnotherapist myself, I'm like, I know where attention goes, energy flows. And I know like our thoughts control the behaviors, like that's where it all goes. But not letting them out, that's where we end up with with diseases and illnesses. That's why so many people are sick so often because they're not letting it out. And you go to a
Yes.
place that's like conventional, like talk therapy, which I hate. um, all they're doing is, well, you got to reframe. They make a person feel bad. Like
There, It
having
totally
those.
they're making you feel bad a lot of the time. First of all, it's really expensive. It's time
Yes.
consuming. Nothing against therapists, coaches, counselors. They are so valuable with working with mental health and wellness. This is really just a tool that is quicker and easier to help you without making things bigger than they need to be. I'm all about
Yes.
making these thoughts simplistic. It doesn't matter what happened to you as a child. It doesn't matter, what happened with your spouse last year. If you are having a thought right now, like you are completely resentful of your partner and your child, then just be resentful in this moment and move through it. We don't have to dissect it. We don't have to get into it and go through the big picture. And the faster we do that, the quicker we do that, the better we become at it, and the easier this all is. So it's really about uncomplicating our thoughts and feelings, keeping it simple, keeping that expression simple so we can move on easier because like what you said, what we don't say, we store. And there are countless studies now that show the impact of storing expression in the body. It needs to come out. It needs to move. So when we open that channel, we free ourselves.
I agree with you. Yes. And like you said, it's not against anyone. It's just that I don't agree with how they do stuff. That's why I'm like, I went from that to the hypnotherapy because I'm like, you just deal straight with the subconscious mind, remove the root. I don't even need to know why you have the problem. I don't care. What I care about is
Yes.
the solution. What are you doing? So like this app, for example, I think it's a great idea just because it's like you're in that moment and it's a moment. That's all it is. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It just is. But when you're able to release it and let it go, it's like, okay, now I can just breathe easier. And it's kind of like journaling, but without having to worry about it, about going back to it, you know?
I'm so glad you said that because yes, we know the power of journaling.
Yes.
Hugely powerful. The act of just writing, typing, processing, it is fundamental in wellness. But it takes time and energy. And when you can actually sit down at the end of the day, when you are totally tapped out, gone, mentally shut down, numb, you just want to sit alone and like doom scroll maybe. You don't have the energy to start writing about your day and some of the things you went through. It's really hard. So this really is a virtual diary because it's accessible 24/7. You can use it well if you're working, while you're speaking to your boss, while you're sitting next to your spouse, while you're at the park with your kids, while you're at the store. Maybe you're at the store and there's a tantrum and it goes like level 10 and people are looking at you and your other kid knocks some jam off the shelf and then like jam breaks and everyone thinks you're a spectacle and all of a sudden you're like, I'm failing at this job. I'm terrible at this. Whatever it may be. You can take a moment and just fire off in the app. Like, I don't want to be here. I wish I could disappear. I would leave my kids right here, right now, if I could. You've said it. You've done it. That water, it boiled over. The steam has been let out. And now you can think, okay, let's clean up the gym. Let's get you off the floor. Let's get this kid back over here. And you can handle it because you let that lid pop off. And that's all it is. It doesn't have to be any more than that.
I agree with you. That is awesome. So when you have like your app, is it an actual app on your phone that you download? Can you talk into it? Like, how does that work then?
Yes. So you download it. You can sign up with any random email. You can make a new email if you want. We just need that for the verification code, but we will never ask you your name, your age, or your location. None of that matters. So there are no usernames, no likes, no comments. So really simple. So you get the verification code, download. There are 6 spaces, moms, dads, not just for moms and dads, but anybody with a mom or dad. Adult children still have a lot of issues with their adult parents. There is a place for that. Work, we all know the challenges of managing a career and what goes along with that, feeling like you're in a dead-end career, like you wasted your money, you wasted your time, life is slipping away. Love, whether you are single and dating or you've been married for decades, there is a place to express. Vent, which is for the everyday occurrences, the annoyances. Maybe you wake up and you're just feeling a certain way, that's where you go. And then brag, because positive energy is just as good. So brag is where we celebrate some of that good to get it moving through the body, to really own it. Maybe you think your butt looks good in a pair of jeans. Maybe you're celebrating sobriety or a fitness goal, or maybe you didn't creep on your ex for 30 days on social media. That was a real post in there. Go you. Whatever it may be, whatever you're feeling proud about, own it there too, because that is so important. So there are those spaces to go into, and then it's short and quick, 100-character limits, so no big paragraphs, no long-winded stories, to the point, direct. And there are place, so common swear words, racist words, homophobic words. We try to block as much to keep it a more safe and welcoming space. And there are also self-harm triggers there to seek out the proper authorities, as air out is not the place to help in those situations. But yeah, and then you go in there and you just type it all, and it's very minimalist, old school font, and there's 100 entries from each space that you can read until they're gone forever. So you can go in there and scroll up, which I hear a lot of people like to do. They love to read it, and even reading it makes you feel less alone.
All right, so with your app, Courtney, I do have a question. How does it work as far as, like you said, it's all anonymous and everything, and you get like the 100 texts back that you can see on it as you're recording in that? Or not recording, necessarily, because we can speak into the app, you said, and like we're recording our thoughts. But do you watch like for anything to make sure that it's still safe and protected space for everybody?
So we try. We have language filters in place to block anything that's racist, homophobic, common swear words, just to try to keep it a more supportive and inviting environment for people. But that by no means censors what you want to say. Whatever you want to say, you can find a way to say it without using that language. But yeah, they're the 6 spaces there: moms, dads, work, vent, brag, love, for anything and everything that comes up. I don't think there's a thought in life that doesn't fit into one of those categories. And yes, 100 character limit, so short, to the point, and you can read the last 100 entries in each space before they disappear forever. And people say to me that they love reading them because they feel less alone. And that's what's so interesting when we adjust our thinking from external validation to doing something just for us with the internal release. We actually get more of a sense of community because we know it's real. We know it's raw and authentic. You can tell when people are just BSing you, and you could talk to 1,000 people on Instagram. At the end of the day, you're probably not going to feel any better. But in an environment like this, where it's anonymous and you actually are not engaging with anybody, you get a stronger sense of community and feeling less alone because people are actually being honest. They're not wearing this mask. They're willing to be vulnerable and say how they're actually feeling. So we, in turn, can relate to them. So it's this beautiful kind of juxtaposition from what we are used to and how we express ourselves, and to a shift where it's less engagement, but more fulfilling.
Oh, and I like that a lot because like everything that we've talked about this entire time has definitely been more like this is just a space to empty your thoughts in the moment of just being able to handle life, so that way you say it, you get done with it, and you move on to the next thing versus having to go talk to somebody about it, then question your sanity. Well, maybe I shouldn't have said this. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't know, but I think of that sometimes myself of I wish I would have said this differently or that differently. Like, especially when you're talking to other people instead of just myself. I'm like, because I know sometimes when I say something, I don't necessarily mean it because it's in that moment. And
Yes.
that's where I'm getting like you'd want to use this app during that time in that moment.
Yes, because you're not inviting anybody in. When you start talking to people on the outside, which can be great, maybe you have the best support network in the world, but you also need to remember that whatever you say to them, people don't forget. So you might move on 10 minutes from now. You might say, I want a divorce. I'm so tired of my partner. I'm miserable, whatever it may be. You tell your family and friends, they think, oh, wow. Okay, we better, buckle down and support her, or, what's your problem? Get a grip, get some perspective. He's a good person. He or she is fine, like whatever it may be. And then 10 minutes later, you actually love your partner again. And all those people know what you told them 10 minutes prior in the heat of the moment. So now you can just do it for you. Sometimes we just need to hear it before we register if it's real or not. So we need to say it. And the same thing goes for typing. Same thing, like type it out and send it. And sometimes you need to do that act and read it, and then you will resonate like, oh, that is true, or no, that's actually not true at all. But you just needed to say it. And so now, because no one will ever know it's you, we are free to explore. We are free to experiment with that and really start to be authentic and real about life's experiences without any fear of judgment, guilt, or shame. It's so freeing. And I am not a therapist or a counselor or a mental health expert that's been trained in any way, but I am a person. And I made this app because I needed it. And if I need it, I know other people can need it and use it and feel better. And it's just so empowering when we take control of our thoughts for ourselves. And I love to say that when the more we express, the more we accept ourselves in the moment. That's going to bring you closer to self-trust. That's going to bring you closer to self-love. And that's going to lead you to your intuition. We cannot get to our intuition if we are drowning in mental and emotional clutter and noise all around us. And in your intuition is where your joy and peace and talents lie. So you feel so hopeless and lost because you're spinning in the chaos. And when we start to accept and love and get to our intuition, we can actually hear those little nudges about who we are and where we want to go in life and what we want to do.
I agree with you, especially the intuition. That's why I've told people, I'm like, I've had some people ask, like, can you be taught the intuition, like the intuitive part? I'm like, you can to a certain extent, but a lot of it is you got to be out in nature. You got to be out, away from all of the stuff sometimes. Well, not sometimes, a good majority of the time, you want to be away from your phones, away from the social media. You want to be away from those things. For me, I've found it like best out in nature, like when I'm outside and I'm just sitting outside and nobody else is around. I'm like, sometimes it's all a person needs is just that little bit to quickly rejuvenate themselves. But that's because I'm so used to this different things that I've been doing for so many years. It's easy for me now. But if you're new to this, you're new to the healing space of doing the work, it's a lot harder for those people because it's
Yes.
not easy in the beginning. I'm just saying to get the mind quiet, like what Dr. Joe Dispenza has said, which he also attended the same hypnotherapy college I did. What I have found, like what he said, is like the mind is like a puppy, trying to get that puppy to sit, stay, and just be quiet and shut off the
Yes.
gadgets, shut off the stuff. Just that's true meditation is when you're by yourself and there is nothing in your environment that can
Yes.
distract you or disturb you or any of that.
And to build off the puppy analogy, what happens to us is when things get chaotic and frenetic in life, just like a puppy would respond to that energy, bouncing off the walls, destructive, chewing stuff, unpredictable, making a mess all over. And what we're doing is opening the door and letting the puppy out, letting the thoughts and expressions out. And people will say that to me with the app. They're like, well, I don't really know what to say. Like everything's fine. I'm like, that's okay. This app is not for everybody. It is for people that have already started on the self-awareness, the self-healing, the journey of wanting to be better. Because it requires looking at things in a different way. It requires looking at your thoughts objectively instead of personally. And so when we can separate from that, we may not, with little kids, it's hard to find the time to go sit outside. There are days I want to explode and I'm like, I can't even go for a walk because my toddlers don't walk and I don't want to push the big wagon and it's just going to be more of a thing. And so I can't even get out and physically move. What can I do to move energy? Well, I can start expressing, I can start moving through. So if you are in that space where you can't get out, well, then quiet your mind. This is a tool to create that quiet now. So open it, start with something small, and it'll snowball and you'll start getting deeper. It might be something superficial. And then you'll start to get a little deeper and the truths will get a little more true. And then it'll get a little more real. And you'll start saying things that maybe you've been carrying around for decades, or maybe it might surprise you, or it might be heat of the moment. And before you know it, you will run out of things to say. And you'll sit there and go, wow, I feel pretty good right now.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. So it's going to be a buildup at first, but the more we do it, the faster we check in, the more effective it becomes. So it's a learning tool to look at things differently. And that's all it is, because we've spent so much time looking at other people and what other people will think and respond and say to us that now we just need to do it for us. It's you and you in this thought game, if you will. No one else is involved.
I love that because yes, it is 100% a you and you deal. I've been told that so much before that I'm like, I finally got it the one day. I'm like, it is a you and you deal. Nobody else,
Yes.
and then like when you're carrying the thoughts from other people, I swear that the thoughts and the stuff from other people in general that don't pay your bills, that don't affect your life at all whatsoever, because they're not the one living it. But I swear that they're the most dangerous in a way to carry around with us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like one of the things for me has been like a lot of the women in general, like with my business and stuff, I've had to unfriend and block people just because I'm like, the women have been more mean to me than the men have been on the amount of kids I got, and then you're running a business and things like that. And I'm like, do you realize I'm going to be damn near 60 years old by the time I get done with my last one being 18? Do you think I'm going to have time for a business then? No. Do you think I'm going to have time for anything? No, because I'm going to be, too old at that point. Well, not too old, but I mean, like, I'm not going to want to be doing my stuff then. I want to do it now. Plus, at the same time, it's like when you're younger, you want to take and be able to have the money, to have the things. You got to go to work anyway. So, I mean, like, I'd rather do my own business than to go work for somebody else.
People will always have something to say, and it's
Yes.
just their own projection. And when we can start to see that and take it less personally, so the more time you spend working on you, with you, by you, the less the outside is going to matter, and the more clearly you see that there are agendas in place. And
Yes.
what you do with your life is a highlight for what others people are not doing. And so you may be taking on a new project or a new venture, and may be surprised that your closest family and friends are the least likely to support you. And you thought they would be. It's very common in business. We hear this all the time.
Yep.
And it's because it's often shining a light and creating an insecurity in some cases for what they're not doing. Because it's not easy to build something out of nothing. We know this, and it's a huge effort on top of motherhood and already busy season, but you're doing it because you felt called to it, because you feel like it matters and it's important. And so the more, and that again comes from intuition a lot of the time, which way you're going to be guided in life. And so everyone would feel so much happier if they had their own guide, but that comes from your intuition. So the people that are not supportive and are critical and negative, likely drowning in mental and emotional clutter. They're swirling around in it, and to no fault of their own, really, because it does take a level of awareness to get out of it. But chances are that's all they hear is noise and negativity all day.
Yep.
So when we start to get away from that, then we can start to support other people and show up for other people in different ways. It's a total game changer when we take accountability for our own thoughts and we remove ourselves from any guilt or shame and just look at it more objectively, like, wow, yesterday, my newly 4-year-old was really, really getting to me. She is hands down my toughest kid, tougher than twins combined. She pushes me in every way possible. And I was just getting to like this breaking point, and I just started like firing off into the app. And then within minutes, I felt so much better because it was just a pressure cooker and I wanted to scream at her and I wanted to like, run away. And instead of doing that, I took it with myself because it's a me and me game, and I went elsewhere, and then that pressure was released. And so if everybody can do that, my word, we will all show up so collectively differently. And it's such a beautiful prospect and concept that I'm working towards.
No, and I love that. That's why I'm like just talking about like the real and the raw, like you said, and then also like what I've been adding, into this conversation as well. I think like all of that's helpful for people to think about, like business. Like for me, like I said, that's what I've dealt with. I've struggled with because of the opinions of others online that are free, happy to give it, and it's like I don't want to hear it. It's not
Yes.
productive. I miss that phrase. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. People need
That
to
is
go
an
back
old
to that.
phrase. Yes. We
Yes.
can bring that one back.
That's why I'm like, let's bring that one back. But that's what I like about this app. So for this app, is it free to download? Where can people download it? Where can they, like, is it a website that they put all this into? How does it work?
So mobile app, we do have a website, airoutapp.com. On there, you'll find links to Apple Store and Google Play. So you can download the app on all versions. And that's pretty much it. Free to download, free for 30 days. And then after that, if you like it, you feel better, it's 99 cents a month. Our maintenance fees and upgrade fees to keep the app up and running, because again, I'm just a person just trying to make people feel better. So yeah, free to download, free to try, and then like $1 a month if you like it. which someone other podcast pointed out that like the cost of therapy is what, like $250 an hour. So that's like 10 plus years of the app.
That's true. Yes, because I know that it's not cheap and it doesn't always work like it. Well, the talk has never worked like it's supposed to. Because I'm like, if it did, everybody would be feeling better. But it's like that's focusing on the solution is where a person needs to put all that energy. And that's where I think that this app is great because it is focusing on a solution of what can I do in that heated moment where I just want to be able to let it go. Like that
And
steam
it's
pot.
totally. And it's for moms primarily. That's where the vision and the idea came from because of my perspective in life, but also for teenagers. Like, how valuable to have a space to say all the things you're experiencing and to have there be no harm on the other side. Like, now, teenagers, you can't talk to anybody without it being thrown in your face. So you have to put your face out there, you put your name out there. And of course, you're not going to tell people what you're experiencing, what you're going through on a really raw level for like fear of being ostracized. So now you can actually start to move some of that because no one will ever find you. And dads too. We talk about, emotional availability and men really needing to show up. Well, how and where, is there a space for that? Because my husband's been really instrumental in that as well, is that you don't want to be the first one to express yourself for fear of being further isolated. And when you have kids already, friend groups are limited. And then now guys are being asked to show up for their wives, show up for their partners, show up for their kids, and then put their needs last. Like my husband says, like, I feel like I don't have a chance to express myself because your needs come first, then the kids, and I just need to be silenced. And so to see dads interacting with the app, like one man saying that after a long workday, he comes home and he doesn't want to be with his kids and he hates himself for that. Like, what a beautiful expression to actually meet yourself where you are and to be honest about that. Because I can guarantee there's not too many people that you probably say that to. And so it's this encouraging environment because we can remove the masks, we remove the names, the places. I don't care how much money you make, where you live, whatever it is. And we can actually start to connect on these raw and real levels. So valuable for everybody in every walk of life. I really don't feel like there's anyone that can't benefit. We have it age 13 plus just because we can't guarantee the scope of the conversation. But again, anybody can download and use it and try for free.
Awesome. I love that. So before we close our show today, what is the best way for our audience to get in contact with you and find out about this app? I know you said it's on the App Store and is on Google and on the
and Apple. Yes.
Apple. I'm trying to remember. My brain, it's all good.
Speaking of Apple, I'll tell you a funny story because, when you're a mom, you're busy. And like this app was built in between, like snacks and meltdowns and drop offs and pickups. And I remember I took the kids to Costco and it was like a particularly difficult shop and everyone's screaming and grabbing stuff. And it was just like, get me out of here. And then in the app building process, which I know nothing about tech, this is such a swing in my life. I never thought I would be here, but I just kept getting these intuitive hits that this needs to exist. I wanted to quit 100 times over the past year and a half making this thing. But I just kept coming back to it. But I'm leaving Costco and Apple calls because apparently that's a thing. You talk to Apple when you're making an app and they wanted to verify, who I was and what I was doing and make sure I was real and all these things and talk about imposter syndrome. So I just encourage people, like I remember sitting there like laughing, the kids are screaming, there's crackers being thrown across the van. And I'm like, yes, Apple, I know what I'm talking about. Like, not a clue. So it has been wildly humbling, this entire thing. But I encourage you, if there's an idea or if there's something brewing inside of you, just follow that. You know what life would be like if you didn't do it, but you don't know what life would be like if you tried. So just do it. If you have the energy and the means to try, like, you started from somewhere, I'm starting from somewhere. And it's just so beautiful to see people connect that are like, finding your real alignment in life. So yes. Please follow through on whatever that calling is. Just do it.
I agree with you. That's why I brought the podcast back because I'm like, this was helping me and was also helping other people. And I'm like, this is a beautiful win. That's why when I stopped it last year in 2024 for that little bit, and then I'm like, was on this path of like, do I bring it back? Do I not bring it back? And then I'm like, you know what? forget everything. I'm just going to bring it back. So when I started bringing it back in May of 2025 here, I'm like, this is what I've needed to do because it was something that helps other people. And that's really what it is. Like both of us are in that we want to help. We want people to succeed, but it's also keeping your sanity at the same time. Because it's like sometimes you do question that. Like I question that sometimes too. I'm like, my husband, like when you brought about the men, they don't really share a whole lot. At least mine, he doesn't really talk a lot. It'd be nice if he would. At least give me some direction on things. But even at that, it's like it would be nice to get their thoughts on things of helping us women in the direction of where we need to go. Because I told him that yesterday. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start praying and asking God for you to become a leader instead of me doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's probably, really bottled up because men in general are so used to not expressing, not having their voice heard, not feeling like they can complain that now it's like, well, where do I start? How do I begin? I'm so used to just suppressing. But now we have this silencing of the men and mental health rates are going down, depression's going up. And the opposite of depression is expression. So once we start to open up and they start to allow their voice to matter and meet themselves where they are, there's tremendous capability in really transforming your life there and potential to being a different person. It's just when you're so used to just stuffing it down, it's hard to start.
Yeah, it is. And then I was also thinking that might help men live a little longer.
Yes,
I'm just saying,
way less stress.
Their lifespan is not as long as ours. And I'm like, I wonder if that would help them. But I know it's a lot of it's because men always have been told for years that big boys don't cry, men don't cry, men don't show their feelings. And it's like, that's why we've got the problems that we've got in the world.
And now these men are parenting, even though they were never really shown how to parent in an emotionally available and present way. So they were told, don't open up, don't cry, don't express yourself. And now they're trying to raise kids in a world that was like, okay, tell us how you're feeling. And they're like, I don't know how to show up for this. I wasn't taught this. Like, that's a really hard gig, And then they have partners, that if they have kids, they're dealing with their partners' needs, the demands of the children, the demands of the home. And like, it's so easy for relationships to get off balance in these heated seasons of life. That's why I say, well, yes, this was born, primarily for mothers, but there is so much work to be done with dads and kids too, that I feel like it's for everybody. Everyone needs to get on air out. And even when you're sitting next to your partner and just like fire off in there so you don't go off on your partner,
Yeah, that's true. That's why I'm like, I've told him, I'm like, just leave me alone. When I'm mad, I'm like, just leave me alone. Because it's like when I grew up, I saw and heard things I didn't need to. And so now as an adult, I've trained myself that when I'm upset, I just go to my own little area. And now he's finally picking up to do the same thing. So I'm like, okay, this is working. Because then nobody can say something that we can't take back,
Exactly. Same concept with the app. So instead of saying it to your kid, like, why are you like this? Like, you're so difficult. You're such a discipline, whatever it is, say it elsewhere. Don't tell your spouse all of the things you're stewing about, not necessary, because it's actually not about them. If you think about it, a lot of the time, it actually has nothing to do with them. They're just like an open target where you can release. And that's what you're doing. You're just releasing. So if we can start to find more productive ways to do it that are less harmful, that's only going to benefit everybody.
That is true. That is 100% true. So I just want to remind our audience to be sure to share Healing for the Soul podcast with everyone you know. And I encourage you to follow me, Robin Stoltman, on social media and my guest, Courtney Stanfield, as well. What's the social that you prefer that people go follow you on?
I'm a little bit older, so I favor Instagram, but I am on TikTok, so find us on both. I post equal content on both, but you can head to the website airoutapp.com for links to socials and links to download and to just find out more about the app and a little bit of the backstory.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and your energy while listening to today's episode of Healing for the Soul podcast.
Thank you.
That's all for now, folks. Thanks for listening to Thank You for Fun. Tap that follow button. Subscribe. Quack, quack. Bye-bye. Well, next time. Now you got it. Now.